I'm Jeff Frederick, and this is 10 Questions. Today, my guest is Wes Pratt. Here we go.
Let's do it.
So Wes, tell me your Drury story, man.
Oh my goodness. Drury's been a part of my life since I was a young boy growing up down here on Washington Street, where your historic Washington Avenue Baptist Church is. My home used to be on that same block and the next block over, actually. And so I actually went to elementary school at Boyd Elementary School and used to walk through the campus on my way to elementary school. And so and that was back in the early 60s, and so things were a little bit different then in some respects. Sometimes people would chase me off the campus, and just as an elementary kid trying to get an education, go to school. But the irony in all of that, as we were talking a little bit earlier, was that I ended up coming to Drury as a freshman in 1969, graduated from Central. And I tell people a lot of times the education I received at Drury actually changed the trajectory of my life in so many different ways. But Drury has been a part of I think my life in Springfield since I was a kid.
You had the chance to have thousands of conversations one-on-one with faculty and students and employees that really helped you along your way.
Oh, certainly. I remember so much with certain faculty members, Elton Flickham, Joe Childress, Wayne Holmes. I was in plays with Wayne Holmes and did a couple of Slow Dance on the Killing Ground, Blues for Mr. Charlie we did here with an ensemble of students, black and white students, particularly for that time. Ended up doing Othello. Not the last time, I acted last year in a play downtown, but I hadn't acted in 55 years and went back to the theater. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. It was this, when you're younger, you can remember lines so much better. But I mean, there were faculty members, there were administrators. President William Everhart was the president there. Then Dean Bill Maynard, William Maynard was very active in supporting our students. But I was telling you earlier, there were a couple of janitors who worked here, Bill and Big Joe Dunkins, and they were actually sort of counselors to many of the students, and they take the time to encourage us. Sometimes you got a little depressed about certain situations, or college could be at a challenging time as well as time of opportunity, but they would nurture us and lift us up, and so Drury's entire environment was supportive of the students at that particular time, and I certainly appreciated that.
Everybody at Drury is an educator, and some even teach courses, and you found a couple who were educators who might not have taught you courses but helped you on your way. Oh,
certainly, and they're both deceased now, but I'll never forget them.
So when you were growing up here in Springfield, in these parts, what did you think you were going to be?
I had no idea, to be perfectly frank with you. When I came to Drury, I was going to major in education. And because I thought I might want to be a teacher, but then again, civil rights era, paying particular attention to what was going on nationally on the political scene, I then decided to change my major to history and political science. And about the same time as I entered high school, there was a Baptist minister down at Washington Avenue Baptist Church. There was a professor then from the college across town, SMS, and they encouraged us we got organized as the NAACP youth chapter, or the NAACP youth chapter here down at the Washington Avenue Church. And that just changed the entire trajectory of my life. And so being a part of that organization as a young person, being on the national board, my first plane trip was to New York City from Springfield, believe it or not, because I got on the national board. But I was able to realize that dream of public service from the time I was a freshman in high school, and certainly through my college years here at Drury. So, again, I tell people all the time, Drury changed the trajectory of my life. And I'm so glad it did, because I think I have a certain social consciousness, certain cultural consciousness that keeps me in tune to what needs to be and what we aspire to be as opposed to what we are at times.
Wow, well said. So of all the cool places that you were at on this campus, what's your favorite?
That's why I wanted to be interviewed here. I mean, it used to be just one fountain in the center, and students, particularly the African-American students and students that we ran with, we'd come out here after classes in the evenings after having supper or dinner and sit and talk and commune. The school was very much involved in what was going on in the anti-war efforts, anti-Vietnam, the civil rights era. So you had students from all backgrounds who were pretty socially and politically conscious. And we were involved in demonstrations and things, but this was a place where we could gather, have our conversations. Those of students who smoked, they'd smoke their cigarettes or whatever, but we sit out here and talk until it got dark. And there used to be a barracks over here where that parking lot is. One of those, Dean Maynard, they helped us establish, you had just a room where the students could come, particularly students of color, black students, and then other students. We'd party with students from SMS, we'd party with people from the community. So there was a sense of community even on this college campus, which was kind of exciting and stimulating during those times.
That partying only occurred after homework was done, though.
Of course, of course, yeah. But the interesting thing about it, I mean, we would party, and we may be up late, but we would be in classes the next morning and we would be prepared. So we definitely took care of business academically, but we enjoyed ourselves on campus as well.
Still the same today.
Yeah.
So let's talk music.
Certainly.
First concert you ever went to, what's the next one you want to see?
Oh, the next one, I'm such a fan of R&B. I'm a fan of soul music, grew up on soul music. I think the first concert I probably went to was James Brown down at the Shrine Mosque years ago. But Drury, when
Get up off of that thing?
Get up off of that thing, say it loud, But Drury had concerts here, and I remember seeing Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose. Yeah, cameramen will probably have to look them up, Google them. Friends of Distinction performed right there in the student center there, and so I remember those distinctly. But that was during the period of time War was very popular, so James Brown and War would probably come here 2 or 3 times a year, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool during those times. Yeah,
Tell me about somebody here who really made a difference for you.
Oh, I would think it was Reverend William E. Pitts at Washington Avenue. He was a pastor there. It was during the period of time, as I mentioned, during the civil rights era, 1965, when he sort of empowered us in this community, particularly young people, because during a period of time where, and I'll be frank with you, growing up in Springfield had its challenges, still does, but people have been conscientiously working at it for decades. But during that period of time, as a young man, I didn't have very high self-esteem. But it was that professor from SMS back in the day, his name was Anderson McCullough. And then there were some professors on this campus, Joe Childers, Elton Flickema, and some other folks who really, worked with students, were engaged with students, even though the times were tumultuous, even the times were challenging. They were there to lead you through it, to become very analytical about what was going on in our society and how we could positively impact it. So, there's some folks here locally who made a profound difference in my life, and I'll forever appreciate that. So I always have a fond place. I come up to Drury's campus maybe once a week. I'll just drive through.
You're always welcome.
I just, because there's a lot of good memories here. Certainly some challenges, but many more good memories.
So we're going to strand you on a desert island, but we can get delivery. What's the one food you want delivered while you're on that island?
Oh my gosh, that's an interesting question. I've tried to, at this stage of my life, you try to watch what you eat.
Get a little healthy.
You want to eat a little bit healthier. But I've always been a hamburger fan. I don't eat it I eat it with the lettuce, tomato, and pickles and onions, but I leave off the mayonnaise and ketchup and stuff like that. So I think just a very basic, sort of was raised on hamburger, so this sort of sticks with me.
Good burger is always a good call.
Yeah.
Tell me something surprising you learned from your time at Drury.
Oh, I think that that you could aspire to do anything and be anything. Like I said, you know, it's during a period of time during the civil rights movement, but there was so much variety. There was so much going on nationwide and worldwide. But to be able to obtain the education that I received here, and then to go on, I think the emphasis was on striving for excellence. And that's what I've always tried to instill in young people. And I've been able to work in academia, I've been able to work in youth development and various stages in public service. I've been an elected official, an appointed official in the state of California. So for a country boy from Springfield, Sherman Street, right around in the hood over here, to be able to attain some things, that it validated what people were telling me, that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And I think at that young age, that pastor at Washington Avenue Church down the street inspired in me that I could be. And it was during a period of time when there were a lot of messaging that indicated to me as a young African-American male growing up, nah, you're not worthy, you can't do this, you can't do that. But it was not only the community folks here who inspired me, it was professors and those who cared at Drury University so long ago. And I think about it, man, I've been out of school for almost 60 years, and it blows my mind to even think about it. But I see students, they look so young, you know, but I remember I was that young, that naive on a college campus for the first time. But, you know, I'm proud of the fact that, you know, I graduated from Drury, and I appreciate the opportunity it gave me.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Never give up. You never give up, you know. I think you work hard, but you never give up, and keep striving for excellence. And so that's what I've tried to do in my lifetime, and try to instill that in young people particularly. You know, I know times can be challenging for many people for different reasons, but you never give up, you keep striving for excellence. And you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
You can bring anyone to Drury's campus to spend time with students, to lecture, to sing, to perform, to just hang out with Springfield people. Who are you gonna pick?
I'd pick Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. I mean, the example of leadership, stoicism, his ability to persevere. I just think he's probably the one person I'd like to talk to. I've been blessed to have the opportunity to have met with many American public figures over my lifetime, but never Nelson Mandela. And I think, you know, I would really appreciate sitting down, bringing him to Drury, having a conversation about not only what he endured, but how he endured, and that internal strength that he had to succeed against all odds. I think that would be the person I would like to sit down, have a conversation with, break bread with, and share with the students and citizens and residents of Springfield.
Last question. What's the most interesting place you've ever traveled to?
Oh, I think Fiji. I went to Fiji years ago and was there for a week. And the people, the beauty, the environmental beauty of the place was simply astounding. But the history of the Fijian people, how they got to that island in the South Pacific, and just the history of it was very intriguing to me. Second place would probably be Puerto Rico. I felt that Puerto Rico was just a beautiful, beautiful place, and glad it's a part of the United States. But Fiji would be the number one place.
Wes Pratt, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure.
And that's 10 questions. Well done, sir.
Well, thank you.
You aced it.
I try.